Good morning. How's everybody? It's always good to be here at the 2019 Indianapolis Combine. From an organizational standpoint, it gives us a chance to see the draft class of 2019 up close and personal. I would like to say thank you to Jeff Foster and his staff for running basically a seamless week's worth of work, and all of y'all should, if you see Jeff, say thank you for him for doing that. You know, it's fun to be here. You know what else? You know, it is a 2019 season, y'all. You know, we start 100 years of football. You know, we in the state of Ohio, we pride ourselves on football, and you know, I think 5 of the 11 original teams were from Ohio. So, you know, it's kind of exciting for 100 years of football. There's a lot of energy in 76 Lou Groza Boulevard here with the new coaching staff. You know, the guys are diligently working. You can feel that energy. You know, by no means were we satisfied where we ended the season. You know, we ended on some positive notes here, but, you know, I think we have bigger expectations moving forward. With that, I'll take your questions.
John, you were active last year with trades before trades started, or right when trades started. Could you expect the same kind of situation this year?
Well, I think you have to explore all opportunities with regards to how to acquire, you know, players. I mean, we've always said we'll examine everything. We'll attempt to see if we can make the best decision for the organization moving forward, because, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get better, you know, year in and year out.
Have you had any word yet on when the suspension for Kareem Hunt will be handed down, or do you have any indication how long he might be out?
No, I think right now what the league is probably in their final steps of making these determinations. I think at the appropriate time, they'll contact us and let us know that.
Are there any other Kansas City free agents you're interested in?
I'm not allowed to talk about other teams' players, and you know, I like to talk about the Cleveland Browns.
John, what's your impression of the type of player that David and Joe could become?
You know, well, I think David, you know, the one thing about David, he's a very young man. I love his passion. I love his competitiveness. I mean, here's a guy who is he is willing to go work day in and day out to try to master his craft. I have high expectations, or we have high expectations for David moving forward, and he rightfully has high expectations of himself.
John, what's your understanding of Rashard Perriman's plans prior to March 13th? Do you think you can get something done with him?
We've had numerous conversations with his agent. I've spoken to him directly, and he has expressed a willingness to be here in Cleveland. So I think what you do is you let that process unfold. You know, I would love to have that player here, and just we'll wait and see at the appropriate moment. Your question was, what is the biggest jump for an offensive lineman from going from the college to the pros? Well, I think what they have to do is it's more of a technical aspect. I mean, a lot of guys in college football today rarely are in three-point stance because of the way the different offenses are run. So then from a technical standpoint, they're going to have to get used to having that hand into the ground. And then the caliber of player that they're going to play in, you know, every Sunday is a little bit different than the caliber of player they'll be playing on Saturdays. So it's becoming familiar with the terminologies of the scheme that they're trying to block in. And then from a physical component, it's just, you know, working on those little technical things that separate, you know, the good ones from the great ones.
John, what stood out to you about Marvin Allen from your time together in KC?
Excuse me?
What stood out to you about Marvin Allen from your time together in Kansas City?
True gentleman. I think Marvin is true gentleman. He is an experienced veteran evaluator. He's going to make very sound, factual decisions. You know, I love the guy. I think Marvin's a hell of a man. Physical traits or mental traits or emotional traits? I think first you have, from a physical standpoint, you got to be able to have strength of arm. You got to have accuracy mid to long range. You have to have the athleticism to be able to extend the play. You got to have nerves of steel to be able to stand in the pocket when adversity is bearing down upon you. So I think it's a combination of things. And then, are you truly a natural-born leader? Do guys gravitate to you? Are you competitive? I don't know. Fran Tarkenton was on the shorter side, and he made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
John, what was the thinking behind bringing Greg Robinson back? Is that kind of a big move for you in your mind to get all five starting offensive linemen?
No, I think anytime you can have five returning offensive linemen, there's a degree of comfort. Now those guys have to execute and be one. I just in evaluating when Greg stepped in to his role as the starting left tackle, I thought he did a great job. The one thing I admire most about him is how competitive he is. We tend to forget he's only 25 years old. I couldn't be happier in terms of keeping those five guys together and keeping that, beginning to keep that foundation in place. And I think that's really important.
Is it 1 year give him an opportunity and you guys an opportunity to, if it goes well, have a long-term relationship?
Absolutely.
And what if it isn't long-term? Do you still look for offensive tackles in this draft?
I think we look at every position in this draft, and that would definitely be one of them as well.
What do you think the strength of this draft is?
Well, I mean, it's defensive line. I mean, we all know that. But if you really look in the draft at different positions along the draft, there's some really nice depth in day two and early part of day three. So I think that overall this draft class is a pretty good draft class. And I think the defensive line really helps that.
Do you feel that meshes with your needs? If you use another D tackle, maybe another pass rusher?
Well, I've always said, and this, is every draft class is different. And, you begin the process of evaluating those draft classes, the strengths and weaknesses of it. I mean, there's depth along a lot of the positions. It just so happens this year that, the defensive line, to me, truly sticks out over all the other positions.
Does Steve Wilkes bring a different perspective to what you look for in the defensive line?
Well, schematically, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm sure, we'll begin to see, guys, longer guys there. I don't know, he's not a one-gap penetrating, get up the field, but he's going to play some concepts within his 4-3 scheme that allow those defensive linemen to make plays. So it's going to vary a little bit from last year, but I don't think it's going to be considerably that much different. No, I think you want to get longer myself.
Son, do you expect David Collins to be part of the defense next season?
Yeah, I mean, as we sit right now, what we try to do as an organization is we try to talk as many agents of our players on our roster as we can here at the Combine, and we're doing that. I just so happen to have a meeting with his agent tomorrow. Tomorrow, and then we're going to talk about the long-term plan for Jamie. I don't know what you mean by that. There's some really talented players in this draft class, so I don't know why they would be dismissing them. Well, I've had a chance to see three of them play live this year, and all the three guys that I saw had really, I mean, they were really good at their craft. So I think this is a pretty good draft class.
What has been working with Freddie like during this process? Is he very opinionated? Does he step back?
No, Freddie's very real. He's very honest. He believes in family. He believes in trust. He believes in a lot of the same principles I do. Check your ego in at the door. You know what? Let's go to work at the task at hand. Let's try to build something here special. And so, when the head coach and the GM are like-minded in their thinking, that's very positive.
For a long time, the Browns ignored Ohio State guys, but you obviously took Denzel high. Should that change? Was that, like I said, for a long time there was no.
Ohio State University puts out some very fine football players. I can hark back to the days of, where are we going here? We could go back to Bill Willis. We could go back to Paul Warfield. I mean, there's some really good football players here. And anytime you get a chance to acquire a good football player, I'm all about that. And I think with Denzel, I thought Denzel was a really quality football player. And, you know, I think we're very lucky to have a guy like that on our team.
John, yesterday,
Do you take as a GM, as a scout? I mean, your fingerprints are all over the Chiefs. They're still remaining with the Packers. I mean, how much pride do you take in guys like Patrick Mahomes?
Well, again, I'm not going to talk about another team's players. I won't do that. I've always said it's that basic mantra we all say, you know, learn from the past, live in the present, build for the future. And right now, I'm building for the future.
John, Kevin Colbert yesterday mentioned that he's working at least 3 teams and more than that. Can you, about Antonio Brown, have you reached out to Kevin Colbert about possibly trading for Antonio Brown?
I'm not going to talk about another team's players, but if Kevin, you're out there, here's my cell phone right here. Well, Dave, here's my cell phone over here.
How do you feel about the Lions taking XFL? Do you think that is a good league to be able to possible players that you're interested in, but it's a very different time?
Well, what we try to do in the Cleveland Browns organization is we're going to turn over every stone. And if there's a player in a respective league that can help this organization, we'll make sure we try to find him. Again, I think there's a lot of depth in this class. I think the strength of it is in the depth of the class. I think there's some very talented individuals with some size and actual speed. That's why I can't wait to watch those guys run here coming up here later, Monday, and watch those guys work out on Monday.
You're set at quarterback at the front end, but are you concerned about the back end? Do you need another quarterback back there?
Well, I mean, we tend to overlook one thing. I think Drew Stanton has started 16 games over the course of his career. I think he's 10-6 within that. So I think he's very capable of coming in and playing that number 2 role. Now, how we go about trying to get a third or a fourth quarterback to add to our 90-man roster, I mean, there's many different ways you can go do that, either it be free agent, trade, or college draft, and then we'll address that at the appropriate time.
John, what was the thinking of signing Kareem Hunt so early in the offseason versus waiting to find out what his suspension would be?
Well, we had done, we had done our research with regards to Kareem, and we thought at the appropriate time, for all the information that we did have, listening to his story, listening to how truly remorseful he was with regards to the egregious act that transpired, knowing that once he comes here, there is no guarantees, but what he's going to do is he's going to earn your respect and everybody's respect within the Cleveland Browns organization by his actions and not his words. And I've always lived this, is at the end of the day, if a player can leave not only as a good player, but a better person at the end of the day, you've done your job, and that's what we're attempting to do here. So right now, I feel really comfortable with this signing.
Why do you have a soft spot for him? What is it about him that we don't all know necessarily?
Well, within his person, I think, deep down, if you really sit and engage with him, he has a really good heart. He really does. Now the act he did last year was very egregious. Okay, we all know that. But the degree of remorse that he has shown, and he is so committed to showing through his actions and not his words that, you know what, he's going to be a better person.
Were you comfortable signing him knowing you have Chubb who can play?
Yeah, I mean, you and I really don't know each other, but I will say this. I try to add as much competitive in any position. I will add as much competition as I can. I mean, that's what our job is to add as best competition in all the positions on any 90-man roster, and I will do that.
Did you have any discussions with the Chiefs when you were looking into signing Kareem with the Browns? Did you talk with anybody about what they had done when they had discussions with him about that February incident?
Well, like I said, we did extensive research. We talked to a lot of people, and we felt very comfortable with the information we had.
Is Jeffrey Simmons available to be interviewed at the combine?
Jeffrey Simmons will not be at the combine because he just had ACL surgery on his leg, I believe.
He's not even to be interviewed.
No, he's not.
You met with him prior to the combine at all? See wherever along the way?
Well, as we go along the process, we have a couple months here now to get to know certain people, and that's not to say that we haven't talked to other people that may have talked to him along the way as well.
As a player who's definitely not going to play in 2019, is that
Well, I think what you have to do is you have to research everything before you make that ultimate decision, before you stand up here and say yes or no. So I'm still in the decision-making process and gathering the facts with regard to that player.
How do you see Jamie Collins fitting into your plans or maybe not fitting into your plans?
Well, I think what you do is once you understand the concept that Steves are trying to apply and what it takes to have a position of success within the linebacker position, you want to make sure he fits that model. Jamie's a good football player. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit and talk to his representatives. We're going to go back as an organization and talk about all these different things, and then we'll make a decision here moving forward.
Couple more. John, how would you describe the difference in an off-season for any GM when you have a quarterback in place as opposed to when you don't have a quarterback in place going into that off-season?
We all know it's a quarterback-driven league, and you have to have certain pieces in place to move that team forward, and it just so happens to be the quarterback position. So you first and foremost have to get that position right, regardless, again, if it's trade or if it's draft or if it's if it's unrestricted free agency, and then you build your team around that.
John, when you look at your roster, do you think adding or improving the pass rush is the number one priority?
Well, you just what you want to see is you want to see a consistency of pressure. You want to see a consistency of the back four in unison with the front four, and you want to be able. It always helps to have that pressure, but that also can be aided by the coverages you run in the back half of that defense as well. Do I think it's good to have a lot of pressure? Yes.
Did you feel you were effective enough rushing the passer last year?
I thought we could have been a little bit more.
So, John, you're doing whatever you can do to make the Browns better, but what component of that then is trying to maximize Baker Mayfield's skills? If you know who your quarterback is now, how much of the thinking is that?
Well, what you try to do is you want to be able to acquire as many good players as you can. I think first you have to identify from an overarching need position what on your team, where do you need the biggest needs to help this team? Because the team is basically 53 players, not one person, but that one person is very important. So then you try to build under the guidelines of the 53. Where, if there are pieces on the defense you need to get fixed, is there pieces on the offense you need to get fixed? So these are the type of discussions you have on a day-to-day, a week-to-week basis to try to put that plan in place moving forward for the 2019 league, when the league year starts.
Last one here. Last one.
A little bit more curious about David and Njoku now, because that was a pretty positive assessment that you offered. Can he become like a Kelsey type in this league?
Well, I can only speak about David Njoku. I know one thing, what I'd like for him to see, and I'll say it right now, improve your run blocking. Everything else from a pass-catching standpoint, I think David has got all the elements to be a really nice pass-catching tight end who can run after the catch. So I challenge him here today. So you know what? Improve your run blocking.